The hallway right outside Judge Judy's courtroom buzzed with hushed whispers. A blind 70-year-old woman slowly felt her way toward the bench, hands trembling. Her last shred of dignity hanging by the thinnest thread. Right behind her stood her son, arms folded tight, eyes icy, already mentally rehearsing his defense. But the second those doors swung open and Judge Judy lifted her gaze, something in her face shifted, and when the truth finally started to pour out, the whole courtroom forgot how to breathe. Before we dive deep, quick question. Where exactly are you watching from right now? Drop your city, country in the comments and smash that subscribe button for more jaw-dropping courtroom moments like this one. The son leans way back in his chair like he owns the entire room, arms draped lazily. Chin tilted just high enough to broadcast superiority. He doesn't even glance at the woman sitting next to him, as though looking at his own mother would cost him something priceless he refuses to give. The camera lingers first on her, a fragile 70-year-old blind woman, her shaky hands searching for the edge of the table, reaching for a space that should have felt safe, but no longer does. The gentle tap-tap of her cane rings through the silence, each sound screaming that she walks through total darkness. While everyone around her pretends not to see. Her son doesn't help her sit. He barely moves his foot to give her room, eyes locked on Judge Judy. Wearing that same rehearsed smirk like a shield, Judge Judy studies him for one long, unreadable beat. Then her voice cuts clean through the tension. "Why is your mother still standing?" He shrugs, one smooth, careless roll of the shoulders that sends unease rippling across the room. "I figured she was okay." The mother lowers herself into the chair, all by herself, every movement slow, careful, heartbreakingly deliberate. She never complains. She never looks his way. She simply folds her hands in her lap, bracing herself like someone waiting for the next blow. The camera sweeps the audience. Wide eyes, held breaths, stunned silence. Even the bailiff's shoulders tighten. Judge Judy leans in. "You didn't think she might need a little help?" "She's blind." His smirk flickers. "But only for a second. She gets by," he says, tapping the table like it's no big deal. "She always blows things way out of proportion." The mother turns her face toward the sound of his voice. "I do not exaggerate," she whispers soft. But that whisper travels like the first tremor before a massive quake. Judge Judy turns to her gently. "Ma'am, how did you get here today?" "I took a rideshare," she answers quietly. "He said he was too busy." The son lets out a small scoff under his breath. Judge Judy's eyes snap back to him like lightning. "You think that's funny?" "No," he says fast, but the corner of his mouth betrays him. The courtroom lights suddenly feel brighter, harsher, exposing everything he's trying so desperately to hide. His leg starts bouncing, fingers twitching, that effortless confidence. It's starting to look more like a performance. And a bad one. Judge Judy studies him the way a doctor reads an X-ray, searching for the cracks hidden beneath all the bravado. "Let's keep this very simple," she says. "Why exactly? Is your mother suing you?" "She's dramatic," he fires back. "She left my house on her own. Now she wants money." The mother's hands tighten around her cane. Judge Judy's eyebrow lifts, her voice suddenly razor-sharp. "That's your whole story?" "It's the truth," he insists. Silence thickens. Heavy, waiting, electric. Then Judge Judy asks one quiet question, delivered like a surgical blade. "Then why doesn't your timeline match hers?" The smirk vanishes. His mouth opens, but no sound comes out. For the first time, the perfect armor of his confidence finally shows its first real crack. The mother's voice stays soft, almost a breath. Yet it somehow pulls every single ear in the room closer, not from simple curiosity, but from something much deeper. The quiet instinct to shield someone who already looks so terribly broken. The camera glides slowly toward her again, catching that faint, delicate shake in her fingers as she gently folds them over one another. Her blindness doesn't make her presence smaller. It makes it bigger, stronger. The way she lifts her chin, uncertain where to point her unseeing eyes, tells half the story before she even speaks. Judge Judy lets her tone soften. "Just a little. Ma'am, please tell me what really happened." The mother swallows hard. I was living with my son, she begins, fingers tightening on her cane. Because I can't see. I get confused so easily when I try to walk around by myself. The son rolls his eyes, dramatically, almost theatrically, and the whole audience seems to feel the cold ripple his gesture sends through the room. She keeps going, either not noticing his irritation or choosing to ignore it completely. I always paid my fair share. Groceries, utilities, everything. I never wanted to feel like a burden to anyone. Her voice trembles. But her dignity? It never once wavers. I cleaned the house the best I could. She continues. I cooked whenever I was able. I stayed in my room when they had company. I tried so hard. Not to be in anybody's way? The camera cuts sharply to the son, arms crossed again, foot tapping impatiently, as though her entire life story is nothing more than a personal inconvenience. To him, Judge Judy notices instantly. Sit. Still, she snaps, and show your mother some respect. He freezes, jaw locked tight. The mother lets out a shaky breath. Then one day, he told me I had to leave, that I was slowing down his whole life. She pauses. The memory visibly painful. He said I made everything too complicated. Judge Judy leans forward, eyes narrowing like lasers. And did he give you any notice? Any written message? Anything at all? The mother shakes her head gently. No, Your Honor, he told me after dinner. And by morning, all my things were already sitting outside the door. A soft, almost wounded murmur spreads through the courtroom, the exact sound people make when they witness something quietly. Deeply cruel, Judge Judy's gaze sharpens. Now, burning with clear purpose? Where did you go after that? The mother takes a slow, steadying breath. A neighbor was kind enough to let me sleep on her couch. I didn't want to call the police. I kept hoping he would calm down and let me come back home. Her lower lip trembles, not from fear, but from the crushing humiliation of having to speak these words out loud in front of strangers. The son scoffs again. She's making it sound so much worse than it was. Judge Judy raises one finger, a silent, deadly warning. Do not interrupt her. The mother bows her head slightly. Gathering strength from the quiet, all I want is my things back. And whatever money I paid toward the house, I never wanted to fight my own son. Her voice cracks. Just a little, not a full collapse. Only a fracture. The camera swings back to the son. His once rock-solid confidence now flickers. Like a bulb about to burn out for good, Judge Judy turns toward him slowly, deliberately, letting the full weight of the mother's truth sink in first. Is that accurate? She asks, voice low. Dangerous. The entire room holds its breath as the son opens his mouth to answer. And his face makes it painfully clear he has absolutely no idea what to say anymore. He opens his mouth with the confidence of someone who still believes the whole room is secretly on his side. But the very first words he manages to say already betray him. They twist. They contradict, and the entire courtroom feels the shift instantly. The son clears his throat, straightens his shoulders, and launches into what sounds like a carefully practiced speech. First of all, he begins, she chose to leave. She loves drama. That's just who she is. A wave of discomfort rolls slowly through the audience, not because of what he said, but because of how easily, how casually he says it. Like he's talking about the weather, not about putting a blind 70-year-old woman out on the street. Judge Judy narrows her eyes. Drama? She repeats, voice dangerously quiet. She's 70 years old. She's blind. What kind of drama could she possibly be chasing? He shrugs again, palms turned up like it's obvious. She gets emotional. She exaggerates absolutely everything. She said she felt uncomfortable. So I told her maybe she should go somewhere else for a while, to cool off. The mother slowly turns her head toward the sound of his voice. Brow creasing with pain. That is not what happened, she murmurs. Soft but clear, Judge Judy raises one hand gently toward the mother, a small, reassuring gesture, then slices her gaze back to the son like a blade. I've already heard her testimony, she says coolly. Now let's hear yours. The son leans forward eagerly, ready to take back control of the story she left on her own. She packed her own stuff. Stop! Judy's voice cuts through like steel. 5 minutes ago you told me you put her things outside the door. Now suddenly she packed everything herself? His mouth opens, closes, opens again. A quiet, stunned gasp ripples through the gallery. He tries to recover. Well, she started packing after I suggested it. No. Judge Judy shakes her head slowly, deliberately. Words matter in this courtroom. Either you placed her belongings outside, or she did it herself. Which one is it? His confidence stutters, falters. She helped. I mean, she took some things out, but I was just trying to make it easier for her. The mother's shoulders stiffen, not from fear, but from the sharp sting of hearing him rewrite the memory right in front of her eyes. Judge Judy tilts her head slightly, studying him the way a scientist examines a specimen under harsh light. Let me ask you something simple, she says, voice quiet but deadly. If she really left on her own, why did she leave crying? He blinks, completely caught off guard. I mean, she gets emotional. That's what I've been saying. You said she left voluntarily? Judy's tone is soft, almost gentle, yet it cuts deeper than any shout. Most people don't cry when they're doing something they actually want to do. His jaw clenches tight. His fingers start tapping the table faster. Faster. A small, unconscious confession of rising panic. Judge Judy shifts her focus. Your mother testified that you gave her zero. Notice. No warning. No written message. She woke up, and her things were already outside. You say she knew it was coming. Which is it? He snaps back quickly. She knew. She just wants to make me look bad. The mother's lips part, wounded. Judge Judy sees it. The audience sees it. The son does not. He inhales sharply and adds, besides, we had a written agreement. She knew the rules for staying in my house. The whole room freezes. Judge Judy straightens in her chair. A written agreement? She repeats, her voice suddenly ice cold. He nods fast. Too fast. Yes, a written agreement. She steeples her fingers, calm and terrifying. Then bring me the document. And the son, so smug and sure of himself just moments ago, suddenly cannot move. He pats one pocket. Then another. Then another. Each movement quicker, more frantic, more revealing. The written agreement he bragged about so confidently has mysteriously vanished into thin air. His hands flutter across the table like panicked birds tapping, sorting, pretending a stack of folded papers, a crumpled receipt, an empty envelope. He checks every single one anyway. The courtroom watches in thick, uncomfortable silence. The tension building like storm clouds right before lightning. Judge Judy's gaze sharpens to a point. You have 30 seconds, she says calmly, to show me this written agreement you claim exists. His breathing picks up, not loud, but loud enough for everyone to hear, especially the mother. She turns her face toward the sound, lips trembling, feeling the unraveling she once prayed would never come. I had it, he insists desperately. It was right here. My girlfriend put it in this folder. Judge Judy raises one brow, completely unimpressed. Your girlfriend is not the one on trial. You are. He swallows hard. I'm telling you. She must have misplaced it. Judge Judy snaps her fingers once, a single, sharp crack that slices right through his excuses. Stop talking. Just find it. He digs again, now yanking papers out with jerky, forceful movements, a utility bill, a fast food coupon, a work notice. But no signed agreement. No contract. Nothing even close to what he promised. A soft wave of murmurs spreads through the room. Disbelief mixed with recognition. Everyone knows this pattern. The louder the claim, the faster the lie collapses. Judge Judy leans back in her chair, watching him with the quiet patience of someone who has seen arrogance crumble 1,000 times before. So, she says coolly, you managed to produce everything, except the one single document that would actually help your case. His jaw twitches. I'm telling you, I had it. She moved things around. Judge Judy cuts him off instantly. She's blind. The words drop like a gavel. The audience reacts. The mother exhales, a sound halfway between relief and heartbreak. The son tries again desperately. Maybe it fell out in the car, or maybe... Maybe it's still at home. I had so much going on, I can't keep track of everything. You kept track of kicking your mother out, Judge Judy replies flatly. You kept track of putting her belongings on the curb. You kept track of removing her from the utility accounts. But you can't keep track of one single piece of paper? His face RADDNS. His confidence cracks even. Further splintering like thin ice under. Too much pressure, and let's talk about your timeline now, she adds. Sharply, your story keeps changing every single time I ask a question. You realize that, don't you? He opens his mouth, but no real defense comes out behind him. The mother's hands grip her cane tighter, knuckles turning. Pale, she says nothing. She doesn't need to. The silence is already telling her side of the story. Judge, Judy turns to her clerk. Bring me the file the plaintiff submitted. The son's head snaps up. What file? The mother lifts her chin just a little, knowing she can't see the room, but feeling deep down that this moment has been building for a long time. Judge Judy places the mother's file on the desk and taps it once. Firmly. Perhaps, she says softly. Your mother kept better records than you ever did. The file lands on Judge Judy's desk with a dull, weighty thud, and the son flinches like the truth inside could actually hurt him physically. She opens the mother's file with the careful precision of a surgeon, handling a fragile artery. Each page turns slowly, deliberately, unhurried. The soft rustle feels loud, enough to make the son twitch in his seat. She glances at him once. Do not speak until I tell you to. The camera catches his knee bouncing wildly. Under the table, the first clear sign of a man losing grip on the story he thought he controlled. Judge. Judy lifts one page. This, she says pointedly, is a change of address confirmation, dated 6 weeks before you claim she left on her own. The son stiffens like a board. That's not what it looks like. I only changed it temporarily. Temporarily. Judge Judy echoes, her voice turning dangerous. Even you redirected her mail to your own address, without ever telling her, correct? He swallows, hard. I thought it would be easier for me to handle things. For you, she repeats, not a question, a precise dissection. She holds up another document. And this? A utilities transfer authorization. Your signature. Clear as day. You took her name off and put yours alone? Did she authorize that? His face reddens, a slow spread of panic under the bright courtroom lights. She said I could handle the bills. The mother's voice cuts through the tension, soft but unbreakable. I did not say that, she whispers. I only asked you to read them to me. The room lets out a collective breath of disbelief. The son shifts violently in his chair. She doesn't remember conversations, right? Judge Judy slams the file shut. The sound echoes like a gavel strike. Enough! He stops mid-sentence, breath caught like he slammed into a wall. Her voice lowers, almost gentle now, which somehow makes it even sharper. You took control of her mail, her accounts, her address, and then you threw her out of the home she helped pay for and maintain. He opens his mouth, but nothing coherent forms. Panic and emotion crash together in his throat, stumbling over each other. Failing to turn into any real excuses, Judge Judy leans forward. Why? She asks quietly. Would a son need this much control over his own blind mother? Unless he was trying to hide something. The son's eyes dart left, right, anywhere but toward the mother, whose face is turned toward the sound of his complete unraveling. I was just trying to help. He mumbles weakly. No, Judge Judy says softly. You were trying to control her, and you were hoping she'd stay quiet about it forever. The son sinks lower in his chair, arrogance deflating into something smaller, more fragile, more naked. The mother presses one hand against her heart, steadying herself against the truth finally being said out loud. Judge Judy turns the file back to the clerk. We're not done yet. She locks her gaze on the son with laser precision. Tell me, she says, what exactly were you planning to do with all of her belongings? His face drains of color, the unraveling now impossible to hide. He tries to speak, but the words tangle in his throat. panic turning his voice into broken pieces for the first time. The sun looks smaller than the truth closing in around him. The courtroom feels heavier now. Denser, like every bit of air has soaked up the weight of what's just been uncovered. Judge. Judy stays perfectly still, her silence sharper than any accusation. She watches the sun the way you watch a building about to fall, not with shock, but with a sense of inevitability. I asked you a question. She says quietly, "What did you intend to do with your mother's belongings?" The sun wipes his palms on his pants, a subtle sign of sweat betraying his crumbling composure. I was going to sort them. Donate some. Store some. His voice cracks. Sell a few things. Maybe. Sell. Judge Judy repeats, her expression turning to stone. The mother's head turns toward the sound of that word, lips parting. Breath-catching, she grips her cane like it's the only anchor keeping her steady. What exactly? Judge Judy presses. Leaning forward, gave you the right to sell anything that belongs to a woman who trusted you to take care of her? He sputters. She didn't need all that stuff. I was doing her a favor. The room erupts in a wave of gasps. Cutting him off cold, Judge Judy's eyebrows rise, the warning crystal clear. Do not insult this courtroom with that kind of excuse. Not today. The son's breathing quickens, a tremor shakes his fingers. He shifts in his chair, trying to grab hold of the confidence that used to come so easy. But it's gone. Arrogance has left him behind. The mother raises her hand, slightly, as if reaching out to confirm a sound she can't quite believe. All my things, she whispers. Voice shaking, the pictures. My sewing machine, my wedding dress. He looks away, jaw clenching tight, as her trembling grows stronger. Those were memories. She continues softly. Only memories I can't. Her voice breaks gently. I can't see anything anymore. Those were all I had left. The room falls into a stunning silence, not empty, but overflowing, full of judgment, full of empathy, full of the quiet recognition that something sacred has been shattered. Judge Judy's face softens, just enough to reveal the humanity under her authority. This isn't about clutter, she says, turning to the son. This is about dignity, hers, not yours. He finally snaps. She never appreciates anything I do. She's impossible to live with. She complains. She moves things. She slows everything down. Judge Judy lifts her hand sharply. Say it plainly, she orders. Say the truth you've been dodging all day. The son glares at the desk, breathing ragged. She was in my way. The mother's shoulders fold inward, not dramatically, not loudly. Just enough to show the quiet devastation of hearing her place in someone's life, reduced to nothing but an inconvenience. Judge Judy's voice drops to a whisper, one that somehow echoes louder than any yell. Repeat it. His eyes snap to hers. What? Why? Because the truth is a mirror, she says, and I want you to see yourself in it. His lips tremble. She was in my way. A heartbeat passes, then another. Judge Judy sits back. We are nowhere near done. She signals to the clerk. Prepare the next piece of evidence, she says, and bring the audio file. The son freezes solid because he knows exactly which recording she means. His breathing turns uneven now, short, frantic gasps that make the whole courtroom feel smaller. Tighter. The arrogance he wore like unbreakable armor is cracking. Piece by brittle piece, the clerk crosses the room and hands Judge Judy a small device hooked up to the sound system. The son's eyes follow it, the way prey watches. A trap snaps shut. Too late to escape, too terrified to stay frozen. Judge Judy nods to the clerk. Play it. A soft click. Then static. And then a voice. The mother's voice, thin, trembling, recorded in a moment when she thought no one else could hear her deepest fear. Please call me back. The recording begs. I don't know what to do. I'm outside. I can't find my way. I just want to come home. The son's shoulders jerk, as though the words hit him like physical blows. The audience falls. Silent. Not the usual courtroom hush, but a suffocating, breath-stealing silence that feels like judgment made real. The mother bows her head, unable to see the reactions. but feeling them in every tiny shift of the air. Judge Judy lets the recording play without interruption. I'm sorry if I upset you. I didn't mean to. Please, I'm scared. The son squeezes his eyes shut tight. When the audio finally stops, Judge Judy leans forward, elbows on the desk, voice cold enough to chill the entire room. That, she says slowly, is not a woman who left voluntarily, he stammers. She left the house upset and she didn't want— Do not finish that sentence, Judge Judy warns. Because whatever comes next will be a lie? He grips the table edges, knuckles turning white. You don't understand what it's like. She complains about everything. I can't do anything right. I needed space. Space. Judge Judy repeats it like a curse. You needed space so badly that you left your blind mother alone in the dark, with no way back home. The mother inhales sharply, shaking. He looks at her, actually looks at her, for the first time since this all began, but she doesn't lift her face. She holds her cane like it's the only thing keeping her from falling apart. Judge Judy picks up the mother's bank statements next. Let's talk about these withdrawals. She says, multiple ATM transactions right in your neighborhood. Electronics purchases, restaurant charges. All from her account. Did she authorize those? Yes, he blurts way too quickly. She gifted me the money. She said I deserved it for helping her. The mother's voice rises gently, barely above a whisper. I did not say that. His head snaps toward her. She doesn't remember. That's what I've been trying to say. She mixes up conversations. She imagines things. Judge Judy raises one finger. No, she does not imagine things. You do. The son's facade cracks even more, like pressure building inside him, pushing outward, splitting him from the core. The mother's next words deliver the final blow. I only gave him money because I thought it would make him visit me more. That maybe he'd sit with me for a while? I didn't know I was paying him just to stay? The gallery gasps. Even the bailiff's steady stance wavers for a second. Judge Judy closes the file slowly, the soft click echoing like an early verdict. She turns to the clerk again. Bring in the girlfriend, she says. We need to clear up a few contradictions. The son's face drains completely, because the person he blamed earlier is now the one who could bury him for good. A shaky, breaking voice fills the courtroom, and it's not the one anyone expected to hear again. The room goes utterly still, as if every heartbeat pauses to listen. The clerk presses play, a soft crackle of static. Then the voicemail starts. Hi, it's me. The mother's voice trembles through the speakers, thinner than tissue paper, frail enough to tear under its own fear. I'm outside. I don't know where you are. I knocked. I called your name. I can't see anything. The audio makes the courtroom silence feel even bigger, like the air itself is holding its breath. I'm sorry. The recording continues, words crumbling under their weight. I didn't mean to upset you, Dot. Please open the door. I only need a little help. I just need to come inside. The son squeezes his eyes shut, as if he could somehow unhear what the room has already taken in. The audience shifts, chairs creaking, bodies leaning, hearts quietly breaking. Even the bailiff, steady as rock in every case, looks down at the floor. And if you don't want me there anymore, please just tell me, but don't leave me here. It's cold, and I can't find the steps. A soft gasp escapes someone in the gallery. Another wipes away a tear. The sound of the mother's pleading turns the courtroom from a place of rules into a place of raw reckoning. When the recording ends, the silence is crushing, not empty, overflowing with judgment. Judge Judy doesn't move. She sits with hands folded, staring at the son with an expression so controlled it borders on furious calm. That, she says slowly, is not a woman who left voluntarily. That is abandonment. The son fumbles for words, his voice cracking under the weight of his own decisions. She left the house upset. She said she needed— Do not finish. Judge Judy warns sharply. We have heard the truth in her voice, not yours. The mother tilts her face toward the judge's voice, but it's the son's breathing. She really listens for ragged, soaked-in guilt, the breaths of a man no longer shielded by his own lies. Judge Judy lifts the phone where the voicemail came from. Your mother called you 6 times that night. She says you answered none of them. The son's face collapses into a grimace, defensive and terrified. I was tired. I needed a break. Judy's reply comes almost as a whisper. You needed distance? She needed safety? Only one of you was truly entitled to it. The mother presses a trembling hand to her chest, the memory still raw. Even now, Judge Judy leans back. We've reached the point where evidence will either clear you or destroy you. The clerk opens the side door, footsteps echo, the son looks up, dread flooding his face, the girlfriend steps inside, eyes lowered. Carrying a truth she can no longer keep hidden, her arrival marks the moment everything tips over the edge. She steps into the room, hands clasped tight, eyes down. Moving like someone finally facing a truth. She can't run from anymore. The son stiffens. He knows her presence isn't rescue. It's total exposure. The girlfriend stops by the witness stand, shoulders tense, breath uneven. The camera lingers on her face, not defiant, not angry, just scared. Scared of the truth she hid. Scared of the man she hid it for. Judge Judy gestures calmly. State your name, please. Her voice wavers. My name is Melissa. The son sits up straighter, trying to seize control. It's fine, he mutters. Just tell her what happened. Tell her you lost the paper. Tell her. Judge Judy lifts a hand sharply. Do not coach her. Not here. Melissa's lips tremble. I didn't lose anything. The son's jaw snaps shut. A ripple spreads through the room. The gallery sensing a massive fault line cracking open right under his chair. Judge Judy leans forward, tone precise as a scalpel. You're saying the written agreement he mentioned never existed? Melissa hesitates, glances at the mother. Then at the floor. Finally, she exhales. No, it never existed. He told me to say that if anyone asked. The son explodes. What are you doing? His voice echoes, desperate, cracking at the edges. The bailiff takes one step forward, a silent warning. Judge Judy doesn't flinch. So he asked you to lie, she says. Why? Melissa swallows hard. He said he needed to look more responsible. For the court, for everyone. A painful silence follows, not dramatic, but deeply human. The kind that uncovers regret in its rawest form. The mother turns her face toward Melissa, expression unreadable, but breath unsteady. It's the breath of someone reliving a wound they tried so hard to forget. Judge Judy lifts a page from the mother's file. This shows a transfer of her utilities and mail to your house, she says. Did you know about that? Melissa nods slowly. He told me it was temporary. He said she was getting clingy. That she needed to learn to be more independent. The mother stiffens, a small, involuntary flinch of pain. And the night she was removed from the house, Judge Judy presses. Tell me what happened. Melissa closes her eyes. Her voice drops to a whisper. He told her she had to leave. He said if she refused, he would call the police. She pauses, breath catching, and he told me to lock the door behind her. The son slams a fist lightly on the table. She's lying. She's just mad because we argued last week. Judge Judy's stare freezes him mid-outburst. You do not get to rewrite her truth, not anymore. Melissa wipes tears from her cheek. I regret it. Every single part of it. The courtroom stays silent, except for her quiet breaths. Judge Judy folds her hands. What made you come forward today? Melissa looks at the mother. She's blind, she whispers, and she still apologized in that voicemail. I couldn't live with myself after hearing it. The son's face goes pale. Frantic, cornered. Melissa inhales slowly, gathering courage for one last strike. Your Honor, there's something else I need to tell you. Something he didn't want anyone to know about that night. Her next words drop like heavy stones into the center of the room, and the ripples hit every corner of the courtroom. Even the son stops breathing. Melissa stands frozen, hands trembling, as if the truth itself is burning through her skin. The son leans forward, eyes wide, no longer angry, just terrified. The mother stays very still, sensing the energy shift with that heightened awareness that comes from living in darkness. Judge Judy's voice stays soft, controlled, unnervingly calm. Take your time, she says. What happened after she stepped outside? Melissa closes her eyes. When she walked out, he told me to turn off the porch light. The courtroom gasps, a wave of disbelief that crashes and pulls back. Leaving a heavy silence, the mother inhales sharply, fingers curling tighter around her cane. The son shakes his head violently. She's exaggerating. She knows I didn't. Let her finish. Judge Judy orders, the command cutting through his protest like a knife. Melissa continues, voice quivering. He said if we kept the lights on, she would try to find her way back inside. He said she needed to learn a lesson. The mother's breath stutters, the smallest sound, but utterly devastating. Melissa swallows hard. I didn't want to, I swear. I didn't, but he grabbed the switch himself when I hesitated. Her gaze drops to the floor. The entire porch went dark. And she reached for the railing, but her hand missed because she couldn't see where anything was anymore. Judge Judy blinks slowly, as if anchoring herself in restraint. And then? She asks. Melissa looks directly at her. A moment of pure, raw honesty. He told me to lock the door. Another ripple of horrified whispers. The son sinks into his chair as though gravity itself has turned against him. Judy's tone hardens. Did she have her phone? Yes, Melissa says, but he kept turning the volume down every time it rang. He refused to answer. He laughed and said she cries at everything. The son slams his hand on the table. That is a lie. But the room no longer leans toward his voice. It leans toward hers. Toward the truth. Melissa's voice cracks. She stood outside for almost 40 minutes. She called him. She knocked. She begged. The mother lifts a shaking hand to her mouth, the memory flooding back. Uninvited. Overwhelming. Melissa wipes more tears from her cheeks. She asked me once if I thought he would ever let her back inside. I said I didn't know. Because I didn't. The entire courtroom feels frozen in one single breath. Judge Judy exhales slowly, almost painfully. Is there anything else you want to tell this court? Melissa nods. Her final confession is barely a whisper. Yet it explodes in the room like truth set free. He planned to put her things on the curb the next morning. He said she would figure something out. He said she always does. The son's face turns white as a sheet. Judge Judy turns her head to him, voice like cracking ice. Stand up, she says, because after what I just heard, you and I are going to have a very different conversation. For the first time since the hearing started, he doesn't speak, not because he won't, but because something inside him has finally shattered. He stands slowly, as Judge Judy ordered, legs unsteady. Breath shallow. The confidence he used like a weapon now dangles useless at his sides. Exposed, the courtroom feels like a still ocean. Nothing moves except the faint tremble in his jaw. Judge Judy lets the silence stretch, not cruelly, but with intent. In this room, silence is where truth gets forced to surface. Look at your mother, she says softly. He doesn't. He keeps his eyes glued to the desk, as though the wood grain might swallow him up. Look at your mother, slowly, painfully. He turns. The mother lifts her face toward him, not seeing him, but feeling the air shift, the emotional heat that says he's breaking. Finally breaking. Her expression isn't anger. It isn't revenge. It's something quieter, heavier, a grief that's waited far too long to be acknowledged. Judge Judy folds her hands. You tell me you were overwhelmed? She says that you needed space. That she was in your way? He swallows, throat tight. I didn't know what else to do. Yes, Judy replies. You did. You could have asked for help. You could have communicated. Instead, you chose cruelty disguised as convenience. His shoulders collapse inward, guilt manifesting physically. Like a weight ignored for years finally crashing down, Melissa watches from the side, tears streaking her face, remorse, guilt, relief, all mixing together. Judge Judy leans forward. You let a blind 70-year-old woman stand outside in the dark. You ignored her. Calls, you locked the door. You laughed. He covers his face with both hands. No. I was stupid. I was angry. I just wanted what? Judy's voice softens, but not kindly. To feel in control. To feel powerful. To feel free of responsibility. His hands drop, his eyes shine with tears he can no longer hold back. I felt trapped, he whispers. I felt like my life stopped when she moved in. I felt like everything became about her. The mother's lips part, pain rippling across her face. So you punished her for needing you? Judge Judy asks. Her tone isn't sharp anymore, It's something worse. Disappointment. He chokes on his answer. I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted to live my life. I thought she'd be better off without me. The mother's next words slice through him like a blade. Forged from memory. I never wanted to stop your life, she whispers. I only ever wanted to be part of it. His knees buckle slightly at the sound, a mother's love smashing into a son's fear. Judge Judy watches him closely. We're done with excuses, she says. Now we deal with consequences. He nods, defeated, but Judy isn't looking at him anymore. She turns to the mother. Ma'am, she says gently, did you know your son felt this way about you? The mother hesitates, then answers with quiet devastation. Yes, I knew, and I was going to leave him the house. Anyway, the courtroom freezes. The son's breath stops. Judy's eyes widen, and the mother adds, with heartbreaking clarity, I'm not sure I will anymore. Her revelation hangs in the air like a tear about to fall, one small drop that could change the shape of the entire room, and the son, once so unshakable, looks like the ground beneath him just vanished. Judge Judy doesn't speak immediately. She lets the weight of the mother's confession sink into the silence, carve into the son's shrinking form, breathe long enough for everyone in the courtroom to grasp its full impact. The mother folds her hands tightly in her lap, fingertips trembling. I was going to leave him the house, she repeats softly. As if the echo might help me figure out how things went so wrong. I thought it would make his life easier. I wanted to give him something solid, something that was mine. The son wipes at his face, ashamed, confused, suddenly exposed in ways no courtroom words could have prepared him for. He sinks back into his seat. As though gravity just doubled, Judge Judy leans forward, elbows on the bench, tone shifting, not softer, but more intentional. Ma'am, she says, you do not owe anyone your home, or your peace. Not even your son. The mother nods slowly, her milky eyes blinking as emotion blurs the edges of her composure. I know, she whispers. I'm starting to understand. That the camera shifts to the son, hunched, small, shrinking under truths he never saw coming, his bravado long gone, replaced by a hollow remorse that flickers unevenly across his face. Judge, Judy turns to him. The consequences you face today aren't just legal, she says firmly. They're moral, emotional, personal. She places a hand on the stack of documents, and they start with restitution. He nods weakly, eyes downcast. You will return every single one of her belongings, she continues, and anything missing, damaged, or sold, you'll replace it at your own expense. He nods. Again, you will reimburse her for the nights she was forced to sleep elsewhere, she adds, voice sharpening, and for any emotional and logistical harm your actions caused. This time he opens his mouth, not to fight, but to plead. I'll do whatever she wants, I swear. The mother shifts slightly, voice quiet but steady. I don't want revenge, she says. I want dignity, and I want him to understand what he did. A murmur of empathy ripples through the audience. Judge Judy softens, just enough to let humanity peek through her authority. You are entitled to that, she says, and he will understand, because I'm not finished. The son looks up, startled. Not finished? No, Judy replies, folding her hands. There's behavior in your testimony that raises concerns. Way beyond this courtroom. You redirected her mail. You transferred her utilities. You took control over her finances. He swallows hard. Fear rushing back full force. The judge's gaze sharpens. I have a responsibility to make sure that doesn't continue. She turns to the clerk. Prepare the documents, she says. There's another action this court must take, one your son is not going to. He lifts his eyes slowly, bracing for a hit he knows he deserves, not from Judge Judy, but from the truth he spent years avoiding. The courtroom feels quieter now, not because sound is gone, but because something heavier has filled the space. Accountability. Judge Judy sits straighter, her expression moving into a mode the courtroom knows well. Not anger, not disappointment, but something deeper, a moral calm. The kind that comes right before truth with no way out. Let us be clear. She begins, voice steady as rock. This is not just about money or belongings. This is about dignity, respect, and responsibility. All of which you completely neglected. The son swallows hard, tears gathering at the corners of his eyes. The panic from earlier has turned into thick, painful remorse, forcing him to sit uncomfortably in the reality of who he's become. You treated your mother? Judy continues, as though her blindness was nothing but an inconvenience, as though her very existence needed some kind of justification. He winces, the words hitting their mark perfectly. The mother sits perfectly still, fingers laced, chin lifted slightly toward the judge's voice, though she can't see the room. She feels every tone shift, every tremor in her son's breath. Melissa watches from the witness stand, guilt carved into her face. Her involvement was cowardly, but her honesty today is brave. Judy's voice softens, making it somehow even sharper. Your mother didn't ask for grand gestures. She asked for safety, for kindness, for the simple comfort of not being abandoned in the dark. His eyes close, a tear slipping down his cheek. The kind that comes not from sadness, but from raw recognition. The mother speaks next, voice quiet but firm. I didn't want to take anything from him. She says, I wanted him to feel supported, not burdened. I wanted to be loved. Her words land like gentle blows, soft, but devastating. The son turns toward her, voice barely holding together. I'm sorry, he whispers. I was overwhelmed. I let my frustration turn into cruelty. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was wrong. The gallery stays silent, watching a man finally tear down the armor he's clung to for years. Judge Judy nods slightly, acknowledging the apology, without letting it erase anything. Growth starts with truth, she says. But truth alone isn't enough. You must change your behavior, because your mother deserves better than a son who only sees her value when he's staring at consequences. He nods, wiping his face, shame now fully out in the open. No more hiding behind excuses. Judge Judy turns to Melissa. You bear responsibility too, she says, but you showed integrity by coming forward. That counts for something. Melissa nods gratefully, though tears still spill down her cheeks. The mother inhales, trembling, not broken, but somehow stronger for having spoken her truth at last. Judge Judy straightens the documents in front of her. I am ready to rule, she says, but before I do, there's something important I want both of you to hear. She closes the file with deliberate calm, because what comes next, she says, is not just a verdict. It is a lesson neither of you will forget. The courtroom leans in without realizing it, not because a ruling is near, but because everyone senses Judge Judy is about to speak from somewhere deeper than the bench. Judge Judy closes the file gently, almost reverently, as though the story inside deserves respect. Even if the actions don't. Her eyes lift slowly, settling on the son first, not with fury, but with a piercing, measured disappointment that reaches past the surface, into the history of his choices. When I look at you, she begins, voice low and deliberate, I do not see a monster. I see a man who thought dodging responsibility was easier than living with compassion. The son's chin trembles. He looks down, shame now, visible weight bending his spine. But easier, she continues, is not the same as right, and it is certainly not the same as just. She shifts her attention to the mother, whose face tilts toward the sound with that gentle, instinctive openness of someone who's navigated the world by tone alone for years. You are a patient woman, Judy says, a forgiving woman. A woman who deserved far better than what you got. The mother's lips tighten, breath hitching in silent acknowledgement of pain. Finally being recognized. Judy turns back to the son. You forgot something essential, she says. You forgot that elderly people do not become children. They become treasures. They carry stories, memories, wisdom. And when life takes something from them, vision, mobility, independence, it becomes our privilege, not our burden. To step in and carry what they can't? Her words land like slow, precise strikes, not violent, but life-changing. The son wipes his eyes, trying to steady himself. You treated your mother's vulnerability as if it were an inconvenience. Judy goes on. You used her disability as an excuse for cruelty, instead of seeing your own ability as a chance for compassion. Melissa looks down, tears slipping onto her clasped hands. Even the bailiff's stern posture softens just a bit, the moral weight in the room undeniable. And let me tell you something important, Judy says, leaning forward. In my courtroom, we do not measure a person by how they treat those above them. We measure them by how they treat those who depend on them. The son's breath shudders, a sound trapped between sorrow and realization. Judy's voice slows intentionally, lower, as though making sure each word sinks deep enough to leave a permanent mark. You wanted freedom, but freedom built on the suffering of someone who once carried you in her arms? That's not freedom at all. It's cowardice. A ripple of emotion sweeps the gallery, heads bowing, eyes misting. The mother's hand clutches her cane, but her face lifts with a quiet dignity that brightens the space around her for the first time today. She looks taller. Judge Judy straightens the papers before her. The final tone shift signaling justice is near. I am ready to rule, she says, but make no mistake. This ruling is not the end of your lesson. It is merely where the truth stops giving you chances. She lifts the file. Here is how this ends. The room holds its breath, hanging on the edge of consequences. Long overdue, the gavel rests in Judge Judy's hand, but she doesn't lift it yet. Instead, she studies the son. Really studies him, as if weighing not just the ruling, but the man he might choose to become after this. The son sits trembling, shoulders rounded inward, grief and shame settling over him like a heavy coat. His earlier smugness gone. His arrogance gone. What's left is a man seeing himself clearly for the first time, and barely able to bear it. Judge Judy inhales slowly, grounding the courtroom with a calm that feels almost sacred. This, she says, tapping the file gently, is not only a case. It is a reminder that justice doesn't arrive when we want it, but when we need it. She turns to the mother. Ma'am, you will receive full reimbursement for the nights you were displaced. You will be compensated for the emotional and logistical harm done to you, and all of your belongings, every picture, every keepsake, every piece of your life will be returned in the condition they were taken. The mother nods, lips quivering. Thank you, she whispers, voice thin but steady. It's not triumph. It's not victory. It's relief. Long overdue and hard. One. Judy shifts her attention back to the son, whose eyes have finally lifted, though they shine with humiliation and a fragile plea for forgiveness. You, she says, will pay for the storage costs, the replacement of anything missing or discarded, and the full value of what you tried to take from her. This is non-negotiable. He nods, not arguing, not daring to. His voice is barely audible. I understand. No, Judy replies softly. You are beginning to understand, but you are not finished yet. She sets the file aside and folds her hands. You redirected her mail. You manipulated her accounts. You asserted control in ways that crossed legal and ethical lines. For that reason, I am referring parts of this case to Adult Protective Services. Your conduct requires oversight. The son inhales sharply, not in anger, but in fear. Not of punishment, but of the truth finally being named. The mother reaches for her cane, grounding herself. She doesn't smile. She doesn't glance toward him. Her silence is the boundary she's waited years to set. Judge Judy softens her tone, not for him, But for the dignity of the moment, listen to me. She says, you are not beyond redemption, but redemption doesn't come from apologies alone. It comes from change, consistent, difficult change. Your mother deserved loyalty. You gave her neglect. If you want any relationship with her after today, you will earn it. Not demand it. The son's tears break free, quiet and uncontrolled. Mom, he whispers. But she doesn't answer. The space between them is too wide, too freshly recognized. To bridge with one word, Judge Judy lifts the gavel, expression resolute. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff, she declares, and may this ruling mark the day you both stop repeating old wounds and start rewriting what comes next. The gavel falls with a soft, echoing crack, not harsh, not triumphant, but final. The mother rises slowly, dignity shining from every movement. The son remains seated, staring at the floor. The truth finally settled. Because arrogance always crumbles when justice stands tall.